Welcome to our first DIY video. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to install some wardrobe poles into your, whether you've got an alcove or a gap in your room, just to utilise the space a little bit more. So what we have here is, in our room, you've got the door that comes in, you go along, there's an alcove, and then you've got the ensuite door just there. This door isn't a full cupboard, so about halfway up is where that cupboard starts, and that's above the stairs. And then, as you can see from our wardrobe we've got in here, this is sort of your standard double-sized wardrobe. The amount of space that's wasted at the sides, you know, the front, the back, and on top. So the plan is to take this wardrobe out, put a rail sort of near the top there, and then a rail about halfway up there, enough to fit, you know, coats and that on either side. And then we're going to put a pole going across the front here with a curtain on. And this is our plan for now, just so we can have some more storage for clothes and coats and jumpers and whatnot. But the plan eventually is to see if there's anything in this wall, take this door off and sort of make this one big wardrobe. So we'll have sliding doors here, and then obviously we can't put anything there because the stairs are there, but there'll be shelves and that here, and then sort of the double wardrobe section here. So that's the plan of today. So these are the poles I've bought, the wardrobe poles. They're slightly too long at the moment, so I'm going to need to cut them down. But I bought these from Toolstation, along with the brackets that go on the wall. So I'm going to show how I'm going to install them. And then to install them, I'm going to use these plasterboard fixings, which I watched a video online before starting, and supposedly they're the strongest in plasterboard compared to all the others, and you only need to drill little holes, so that's nice and easy. But first things first, I need to measure this up and cut these to size. So when measuring this sort of gap, what I find with tape measures is obviously you get a bit of movement with tape measures on the end part, and if you want it to be millimetre perfect, then you have to be consistent. And what I mean by that is, if you're going to put this up against the wall and push that like that, so that the metal part is slightly in, when you come to measure the component that you're going to cut, make sure that when you put that on the end, you're not pulling that on the end. You're making sure that that's tight on the end and held. And vice versa, if you're going to put it up against the wall and pull the metal bit like that to measure it and pull it, when you then come to cut your metal, put that on the end and pull it on the end of the metal, just to ensure that you're getting the same measurement. But also with tape measures, I don't know how much common knowledge it is, but I've used a tape measure for about 6 years, and I only found this on a TikTok recently, that they generally 9 times out of 10 come with a measurement on them. So I don't know if you can see that there, it says 90 millimeters, and that's the measurement from the end of the tape measure to here. So if you're putting it in a gap, if your wall's here and you're measuring from here, you know that you can take your measurement there and it's an extra 90 mil. Just before I cut the metal as well, I'm actually going to move the wardrobe and measure where I want the brackets to go, just because with plasterboard you can get a lot of movement in the walls, so it's not necessarily straight. So what you measure at the front here might not necessarily what the gap is at the back. And when we lived in our old flat, I remember cutting wood for a cupboard I was building, and you go to slot it in and it'd either be too tight that it pushes right on the wall, or you go to push it in and it just falls because the gaps can be that much bigger. So now the wardrobe's out of the way, I can actually measure where I want the brackets to go. So the way that I'm going to do it is I'm going to measure the distance for this from the back wall, and I've just measured the wardrobe, and the minimum distance you need for the overall size is about 500 mil. So that means you need 250 mil for the rail. We've got quite a bit of gap here, so I'm going to bring it 300 mil out just to give us a bit more room. I'm going to mark the center of the top hole, 300 mil from the back wall. I'm going to drill that and put that one in. I'm then going to cut the size of the pole, put that in, and then where that one ends up level with our first bracket is where I'll put the second bracket. Another good tip for when you're drilling, especially plasterboard or drywall, is to use a bit of masking tape and attach it to the wall just under where you're drilling, so that all the drillings get stuck to this and it's easy to clean away. So with these types of fixings, you're going to want to unscrew that, take that off, then poke it through your bracket and then screw it back on, and then you'll poke that through the wall, it'll clamp the other side, and then you'll tighten it up and it will grip against the wall. So that's what we're going to do. And then before we make that one tight, we're going to mark our second one so we can still get the anchor bracket for the other one drilled, so that one's not tight, and in the wall, and then we can tighten them both up together. So I've measured the gap at 936 plus the 70mm thickness of the tape measure. So I need to cut this down by 1.06, but I need to include the thickness of the brackets. So if I grab one quickly, so you need to include the thickness of it. So if I measure that, that's 3mm, so 6mm for each side. So it's exactly a metre I need to cut them down to. So I'm going to take them out to the shed and cut them down and then come back up. So to cut the pole, I've just used a normal junior hacksaw. Got through it all right. It's not the cleanest cut, but we'll tape up the end when we put it in the thing, and hopefully it's just all hold. With regards to the shed that I just showed in the clip, I'm going to be doing a whole video on this eventually, so stay tuned for that. So now that I've cut the pole, I've got a magnetic level, which is going to make things a hell of a lot easier. I'm going to slot the one end I've already fitted into that end, and then slot this here. I've already marked the same measurement hole that side as I did for that side, and the idea is I'll line this up with that one. If it is level, perfect. If not, I'll adjust this and use the pencil to mark a new hole, but I'm hoping that it will just be level. Yep, so it's all level, so I'm going to go ahead and drill that the same as I did that one, fix this one in and slot this on. So that's all level and installed. I'll catch up with you when I've done the other one. Right, so now that that's fitted, all I've got left to do is to stick a curtain pole across here. I'm not screwing these into the wall. All I'm doing with this one is similar to how we've got our curtains at the moment. It's very temporary. We've just got telescopic poles, so I'm just going to stick one of them in to stick a curtain on, just to hide it off from the bedroom. And with that, we have our temporary finished wardrobe for now. So you have your curtain, and you have your two rails, and you can just shut your curtain back up. And it's absolutely maximising the space that we have here, as opposed to the wardrobe that we had before. And now we've got a rail each, essentially, that is longer than the one we had in there. So instead of us sharing one, we've got one each, and it's even longer. So that's it for the wardrobe. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments below. I'm by no means an expert, but I'm sure I can try my best, because that's all these how-to videos are. It's not necessarily how a professional how to do it, but a realistic how to DIY version. So if you enjoyed, like the video, and I'll see you next time.